Hey guys, I'm here with Faye, an ENFJ as it shows in Faye the ENFJ. Faye, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi. I'm Faye the ENFJ. I have famously bad internet because I live in rural Canada. So we're going to do our best with this live stream. Worst comes to worst, we can restart it and do an HQ Zoom pre recorded little thing for you guys. So I have a tiny, infrequent YouTube channel. It's the same name as my display name here, so you can check it out if you want to. I'm obviously into typology, been really diving deep into more Enneagram stuff that's different from the typical things we see, which is fun. And yeah, I like to sing really loud in the shower in my spare time. That's pretty much me.
Oh my gosh. So, just to kind of preface this a little bit, Faye and I met. Well, we have never met in person, even though it feels like, I don't know. Like, there's so many people, well, not like a ton of people, but there's a good amount of people, particularly Jonathan in the chat, where I feel like if I met you guys in person, it would feel like kind of the same. I mean, I bet it would be a little bit weird, but I just feel like I know you guys like in person, even though I don't. But when did we? I guess when did we initially do that interview? I believe it was in 2018.
Yeah, I think it was like November, December 2018.
That's crazy.
I know.
Yeah.
We're past the 2-year mark now.
I know. And so many things have changed between now and then.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's kind of cool. But anyways, I'm going to start it off with the infamous what am I? I'm not even like remembering my question, which is like the question I ask everybody. Okay. What were you like as a child, Faye?
Oh my god. So I was very awake to the world even as a baby. Like the thing that people would always come up to my mom and say was that I was so alert because I was just really present and like paying attention to not just my surroundings but the people within the environment. Um, so very like FESE type of stuff. And then I I had colic. So for people that don't know what that is, it's when your baby won't stop fucking crying for like
My sister.
pretty much, yeah, pretty much ever. So you can bet that I'm fussy to this day. And the only thing that would like stop me crying or like let me sleep was like being held, and I feel like that's not that far from the truth now. um, I was like definitely like a weirdo baby genius child. Um, I learned to read not sentences until later, but I learned to read like letters and words individually, like really, really early, and I would like freak people out in public all the time.
How
Um,
so? How would it freak
one
them out?
time, my mom told me this story about like I was like 2 or something, and she took me out to the dollar store, and there was like a globe on the shelf, and I pointed at one of the continents and I said, India. And um the salesperson just turned white. She was like, what? So stuff like that where I would just like read out single words or letters and numbers, like even for age 2 probably. So in some ways I was like hyperlexic. Um, but then I read like books and stuff at more of like a expected typical pace, like around age 4 or 5. Um, but yeah, lots of like very, very verbal, like verbal, emotional, visual intelligences, math, spatial. No. And I was definitely the kid that cried easily, you know, and got very attached to like social relationships and dynamics like very intensely from a really young age. So interestingly, like being neurodivergent, which people don't think you can be as an ENFJ, even if they don't say it outright. Hashtag not an INTP, thank you. I yikes. I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh yeah, I didn't do imaginative play. So like I would like dress up my Barbies and stuff, kind of like, you know, set them up and there and be like, it's not that I had no imagination, it just seemed like an uninviting place to put it to use. Like what I did instead was I would write short stories. Like I wrote a short story called like a Halloween themed short story in grade 1 or kindergarten or something, called How the Pumpkin Was Carved. And it was kind of modeled after those children's books that introduce things by sequence, you know, like almost in a Russian doll kind of context of like, this is the first thing that comes, this is what comes after, and having some kind of narrative around that. So my narrative was like I took like Halloween monsters, like ghosts, skeletons, stuff like that, and kind of organized them mentally in terms of like size and characteristics, and like had them meet in a social context of like, and then this person was walking and met this person, and then it was like I was like trying to attempt to sit with my like forbidden like shadow delta ST stuff in a way, but through like a social creative lens that I understood. So it's interesting to like look back on those sorts of choices that I made as a kid and think about what they mean like typologically.
That's interesting. I know you've like we've talked about this, like where you said that you didn't really do like imaginative like play when it came to like dolls or like stuffed animals or something. It's really interesting. I feel like that is something that I've seen kind of across the board with ENFJs in particular. Like not necessarily that specifically, but there's certain things that like ENFJs just didn't really, that's not something that like came very naturally to them. Like I find a lot of ENFJs don't like to play a lot of like board games or like games in general. It just really depends on the game.
Weirdly enough, like there's a lot of both, yeah, SE, but also SI in play, because play needs some kind of internally set structure in order to continue and be returned to, especially when you're going through the stages of development where repetition is really important, like toddler preschool years. So I thought house, like, you know, everyone played house when they were younger, was the most fucking boring thing someone could do with their time. I was like, why are we doing that? There was just like a complete disregard for like actually living SI and like for, I don't know, the SP element as well in a way. So yeah, like I definitely got my play needs met a little bit differently. And I think I just wanted to talk. Like I became a chatty best friend really, really young. Instead of like, I didn't really, unless there was some kind of like role play structure set up for me and I could learn the rules quickly because I didn't have the patience, then I wasn't really into it.
That's really interesting because like I was very different than you.
Really?
Yeah. Like I played all different types of things. And I also did like short stories. I used to actually write. It was crazy. Like when I was younger, I used to write books like all the time. Like it was just like I would just make up stories all the time. And like I don't know where this stuff is, but like I had a ton of art and a ton of like books that like I feel like if I went back to, they still would make for pretty good children's books. Um, and just like different things than I used to. But I also was very like imaginative when it came to like playing with things. Like I played with dolls, I played with stuffed animals. And it would be like kind of like we would do like a continuous storyline. And I just really liked that. But then again, like I also liked playing Sims. I don't know if you've ever played Sims before.
I wasn't super into like regular Sims, but there was an iteration of it. In the city, like Herbs or something. That I was super into because it was more like quick reward mission oriented in a way, but there was still all of that like social context of like these are the people you know and hit up for certain things, stuff like that. So like that one, and then I enjoyed racing games because they were like I didn't have to learn too many like details. It was just kind of like just raw dogging SE.
That's so funny. Yeah, I really liked that's interesting because yeah, I was and I mean as you know, and like maybe people on YouTube don't know this, but like you know this, but like not that you've like experienced it too much because you typically will dip out, but sometimes you'll listen, is like I am obsessed with board games. Like I love board games so much. And I just love games in general. Like I'm just a game person. Not like video games necessarily. Like I don't know. I do like some, but like I like yeah, so it's interesting.
And then like on Discord when it's like Catan night or anything, I just like I'll call in to like sit and be around people, but I won't participate because I don't like playing games. And I can't be bothered to figure out how to download it. Like I just no thanks. But I want to be with people, so I'll still be present.
But something that's also interesting, and I don't know if you're like this as well, but a lot of ENFJs I know, they don't like typically they're not really interested in like super detailed movies or shows either. Like they kind of like TV shows or movies that are like just kind of for fun or entertainment, not really for like the story.
Yeah, like one of my favorite shows, it's more alpha, I think, but I love Jane the Virgin because it's so relational and heart oriented, and it has crazy plot elements to kind of keep you going. But even that can sometimes feel like a barrier to character healing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
At least the experience of it, because it's like how much stress do I have to endure in order to have the warm fuzzies, man? Like give me that shit. So yeah, I definitely relate to that.
I think it's just like a barrier to entry thing because like I also know a lot of ENFJs that were like super proud to say that they have never watched Game of Thrones, which I know you have. But like I know so many ENFJs during the time that was like, I've never watched Game of Thrones. I'm like, you're like so missing out.
But yeah, I think part of what got me hooked into Game of Thrones is like a lot of people got really into the fact that it was so unpredictable and had so many plot intricacies, and I objectively appreciated those things, but I just became really invested in like character complexities. And like that was the hook for me.
Yeah. No, I like yeah, except for the last season. Oh my god, which we still I'm pretty sure I still have that video series. It's just like such a daunting task. So for you guys that like I know that you guys are like, what are you guys even talking about? Faye and I that stupid last season of Game of Thrones, like I literally hate it. I literally want to kill that season. Like I just want to like take it out of my like I just don't want to have it.
it was already going downhill for a couple of seasons. Like by season 7, I was like, gee whiz, I don't know. But by season
They like
8,
they sped it up so much. They sped it up so much, and they like
yeah, they stopped having material to be derivative. Like the person who carried that show was George R.R. Martin, not the writers. Clearly, sorry, but
the producers or whatever. I don't know. There's but we made a little series during that time, and I think like that like last. I will be honest, I think part of why I never released that series is because of like how sad I was about the whole like ending of Game of Thrones and stuff.
Yeah.
But
Definitely.
yeah, so I have like this like
I'm
basically Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I'm just like opening up the chat on my computer because I'm on visually on my phone right now. So
Oh yeah, so you can see.
Yeah. Data.
Okay, that makes sense. So we basically have this like almost, I would say, 3 to 5 hour series that like it's just like a ton of talking. I mean, I think there's some of the stuff like it wasn't all Game of Thrones, and there's stuff that I would have to edit out, but it was like I don't know. I feel like we really got into really analyzing the characters and stuff, and I think it would be really cool to release still.
It was like 5 hours of footage, was it not?
Yeah, I think it's about 5 hours. That's like literally insane. But like maybe one day I'll drop it on here. Someone said, "What's your favorite board game?" So I like a lot of different board games, but my favorite one is Settlers of Catan. Anybody that knows me closely, and even like Faye doesn't like, okay, like we know each other closely, but you don't like games, but you still know that I love Settlers of Catan because it's like something that I've like made like we definitely have made it a thing on the Discord, is like playing Settlers of Catan on tabletop, and it's just amazing. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely your domain. My favorite board game. This is a really square answer, but like I'm pretty into Scrabble. It's not a party vibe by any means. But yeah, Scrabble, or like I used to enjoy Clue, even though I've sat down. I don't know how I would feel now. I'd have to see.
I played Clue again, and it's pretty involved. Like it takes a while. Like I played Clue with, I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering this correctly, Austin. I think it was Austin, James, and Logan.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was like pretty good. But we kind of did it like a little bit late in the night, and it like took a lot longer than we thought. Which we know that Settlers of Catan would take a lot longer, but like that was kind of crazy. But I mean, we tried to play Scrabble before. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just not a Scrabble person. Like I really like strategy games. Like but like I guess Scrabble does have strategy, and you do have to like really know. Like I feel like if you're really good with words and vocabulary,
yeah.
Or if you're just lucky, because I think that a lot of it comes with luck and like what letters you get in Scrabble, but I think it could be really cool. But
yes.
I don't know. Maybe it's not really luck. I think it's just like mostly because you can build off of other people's stuff.
Yeah, there's I've definitely had a bad hand in Scrabble before, so I know what you're talking about. it's definitely a combination of fortune and finesse.
Yeah.
What
So,
else is
Faye, I do want to get back because I feel like we kind of have steered it off from looking at the chat and stuff, but going into you as a teenager, for those who do not know you, how would you describe like your transition from child to teenager? And like how would you describe kind of how you developed and different things like that?
Yeah, the first word that came to mind was slutty. Like, I was very interested in sexuality from an early age, and started to explore in age appropriate ways, like what that could look like for me, and like not just my body but my interactions as well. And like, I really wanted to get older so that I could be emotionally and sexually autonomous. Like, that was really important to me. Yeah, it definitely made people, especially adults around me, uncomfortable. But now I have compassion for that, and even at the time, it didn't bother me. I think as much as it was with some people. Like, I didn't internalize that shame the way I think some young girls did, which is nice, because I'm definitely a person that internalizes a lot of shameful messaging easily. So I'm not really sure why that didn't hit as much, but I'm grateful for it anyways. And then I was very like, I really started to lean into the performing side of my artistic leanings, because when I was younger, I liked to draw. I wasn't good at it, but I liked doing it. Like a lot of cartoon style drawing. And then I started to be more into, like, I actually developed a listenable singing voice, and I did theater school. Like, I was in the drama program at my high school. So it was specialized. I had to audition to get into this high school and everything. It was still a public school. Like, it wasn't, ching ching. But I, still managed to pull that off. So yay. And then, so I would do like the extracurricular plays and stuff sometimes. I definitely struggled with feeling like the transitioning from being, at least on the artistic front, like a big fish in a small pond, to a fish in an actual lake, because there were other talented, like very talented, sometimes more talented probably, people around, and that was difficult for my 2 wing 3 ass to handle, because I definitely had this, still do, I'm working on it, had this complex about wanting to be universally adored, and having that like consistent positive regard from the heart space from it. So yeah, there was a lot of contention dealing with that, because I didn't really understand why boundaries were a good thing at the time. And it just seemed like everybody had a sense of boundaries, and I didn't, so there was a lot of opportunities to learn those lessons, but I did not really have the guidance to implement them until my 20s. So my teen years were really difficult, but the silver linings of those times were I got to have like longer friendships than I might have now in my 20s, although I think, like with you and stuff, that's starting to get better. There's definitely a period where I would burn through friendships, kind of my late teens, early 20s. So yeah, I had some slightly more stable friendships, and there was a lot of singing and dancing in people's basements and thinking, oh, I can't wait till I'm old enough to go clubbing, and then finding out clubbing is nothing like that, and it's awful. Just like, being flirty and singing with my people, and showing off my lyrical dance moves, obviously. So yeah, there's definitely woo, there's definitely a festive element to my teenage years, despite the challenges.
That's also interesting. It's funny because like I'm looking at Taylor in the chat, just little things, and he like relates with you like a lot on different stuff. And like also he asked you to sing, and so did G, which you do not have to sing. But it's funny because like I'm not like a huge club person either, but I actually don't mind them. And I think actually I wouldn't want to go by myself, but like if I'm with a group of people, especially a group of friends, I think clubs can be super fun. Like I actually love going to clubs when it's with a group of friends.
I've never been with the right people, and that's part of the issue. Because
You really have to be with the right people.
Yeah, unless you're the type of person that's more solipsistic and can provide your own energy and entertainment, and you don't really care about connecting all the time, then that works out great. But if you're like us, NFJ ass bitches, then yeah, you need the right people for sure.
Yeah, beta bitches.
Beta bitches. I prefer dancing to music I know, and music with lyrics and more pop structure, because I feel like that actually, to get into like SE stuff, like that provides inspiration for like what kind of movements I make with my body and the gestures I do. Whereas I find with like non-lyrical music, my dancing can get kind of like more hypnotic and repetitive, which I see why that has an appeal for some people, but I don't find it as interesting.
Yeah, I also like songs that are like I also like I don't know. I like pop, but like hip hop pop, like some rap. Like it really depends on what it is, but I do like upbeat music in clubs. And like really if you go with the right people, and this is like where we come into it like as NFJs, like in Myers-Briggs or like beta bitches and Socionics. Uh we like I have to be with the right people because like I will focus on that group. And
Right.
I'm like I'll still notice other things in a club, but like I really like if I'm with the right people and it's like not like a ton of people, but like a solid group of friends. And we're all having a good time. We're all like hanging out, dancing and stuff. I don't like dancing with people, like in the sense of like I've never been into like grinding or something like that. Like I like to just dance fun with friends. And that to me is like so fun. And I've just had a lot of experience with that because of like my Model UN experience, because we would always go to like European clubs almost every single day during those conferences. So like I would always be like with friends during that. And then like in my adult years, I would go to like clubs and bars in Seattle with friends. And then like in Atlanta is known for like their clubs and bars. There's this bar that's called Church, and it's a fun place to go. Anybody that knows Georgia,
Yeah.
I think you would like it. It's I don't know. Um yeah, obviously that's not really a thing right now. Uh but with the right friends it can be super fun, I feel like.
Oh, that's cool. In Toronto, where, excuse me, I basically grew up. I mean, actually lived in my like early 20s. Um, I the gay village is like largely on street. I love the almost irony there, and I think I feel like there was an establishment called Church on Church. I don't know if it was like a bar or what, but I remember hearing that a lot. And then, but everybody's favorite was this place called Cruise and Tangos. And in Toronto, you get a lot of like establishments, like different kinds of clubs and stuff. Just venues in general that are like old, like bay windowy mansions, like 1800 city house mansions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a really cool vibe. I'm trying to figure out like what an American equivalent would be. Maybe like, I don't want to say Boston. I don't know. Like, if anyone kind of knows what I'm getting at and can like offer a suggestion in the chat, that would be helpful, because I haven't like really ever been to the US. But I almost want to say like, I don't know, definitely, it's definitely a very unique vibe, and I think that's why it's turned into such a world city. It has like there's like a gritty decadence to it, which
Yeah.
I like. Yeah.
I would love to go to Toronto. I mean,
Please.
yeah. I mean, obviously, like, right now it's a little bit challenging with everything. I also need to update my passport. My passport's expired. But it expired in 2020, so I need to get it updated. And then yeah, it's really interesting though, because I don't know, I feel like it would be so cool. I've talked about this so many times, and like obviously 2020 made things a lot harder, but it would be really cool to like meet up with people, even like from YouTube, in a safe way. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to meet up with every single person on YouTube, because I don't know everybody, but I would say for the most part, most people are pretty cool. Like, and so it would be really cool to just like have a meetup, and then if we like went to a location and things were open, it would be kind of neat to go to a club or like something like that. Yeah. Because if you go with the right people, I don't know, it just can be super fun. Like, the thing you just have to decide in your group is you have to decide that you're all going to have like a good time, and like you're just not going to care about like what other people are doing around you, like in the bar or club, and you're just going to dance and just like look crazy. But like, people are I don't know, it can be contagious, and like it just is really fun if you just like don't really care about looking like cute or whatever. Like,
yeah,
I've never gone to a club with the intention of trying to like pick someone up romantically, so I think that's also why it's always been fun for me. It's always been like with friends. But yeah,
I wouldn't say it's romantic.
Oh no! Where did Faye go? Okay, guys, we don't know what this is. Faye is gone. I'm not sure where she went. I'm gonna see. I don't know if her phone died. Okay, back. She's back. Faye, what happened?
I don't know. It came off, but I was just saying that I wouldn't say it's a romantic endeavor for me necessarily. Yeah, I get what you mean though. Like, you just want to let your body do its thing and enjoy the atmosphere with your people.
Not even like romantic, but like, because yeah, I don't think people are like, oh, I'm gonna find my next boyfriend in the club or girlfriend or whatever. But like, just not having that intention of like trying to impress strangers, I think is kind of fun.
Yeah, that would definitely be an interesting exercise for me, because I feel like that runs counterintuitive to my own like instinctual experience. But that could be
you can do both. What I have found is when you aren't trying to like be that concerned, people notice you even more. But like,
oh yeah,
so like, yeah, so also I play this game. I've told people about it, but like, you put a hair tie around your wrist. You play it with like, really, it should only be played with 2 people. Like, you shouldn't make other people aware of the game. And whoever has the hair tie around their wrist has to do whatever the other person tells them. So it's like you are like in this very secret like dare, like kind of back and forth dare session. And like I play this game with friends, and like friends have done like crazy things, like go up to people and take pictures with them, just like ask people for their numbers, dance on tables, like just do crazy stuff, like not steal, but like ask for a lime, just a single lime, or just like some random like silly things. But
it's like a two-person sorority situation. Like you're doing like
initiations.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would never. I don't know if I would say sorority. I don't know. I mean, I've never been in a sorority, but it's like just basically dare or dare kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which I guess is kind of like what they do.
I was going to say Truth or Dare. Truth or Dare is my favorite game. I know it's not a board game, but
I like that game too.
Yeah.
I also love Paranoia. It's most fun when you play it in person. I feel like we've tried to play it like online and it's okay, but like it's best played in person.
Oh yeah, we did our little attempt before. That was fun though. I like games that incite a little bit of healthy drama.
Yeah. Also kind of getting back into things, like, so you're saying that you kind of evolved as you got older into your 20s. What would you say that transition was like?
That transition? I moved out of my parents' house at 21. Because I actually, spoiler, I never finished high school. You need 30 credits in Ontario to graduate. And I had 29. I tried to get my last one 3 times, and it was in my best subject. I just have that much trouble with homework. Like, it's so serious. So I didn't finish. And then I just did a stint in hair school, and that did not pan out. Like I didn't like it. Just like I couldn't learn at the pace and style of everyone else. Like I found it really challenging. And people were telling me, because I was good at color theory and stuff, like, oh my God, like, why don't you be a doctor? And I'm like, y'all, this is a huge leap from hair color science to medical science, but thank you. It was just obvious that I was like book smart and not hand smart in a particular way, which kind of sucked. But I did pick up some skills and like actual tools. Like I still have my hair shears from when I went to school and like do little trims with them. And so I don't regret the experience, maybe just the money that I'll never get back. And then I went to college doing like social work, youth work type stuff for a year and a half and dropped out of that too. So my last completed level of education is actually grade 8.
Wow, crazy.
Yeah, people don't expect that of someone who is well-spoken, white presenting, all of those things. But yeah, that's the truth. And then between the time of being in hair school and moving to Toronto, I don't think I've really talked about this publicly before, but I don't mind. At this point, I was able to move out because I started doing work, and I really enjoyed the structure that job gave me. And people would be like, oh, like, people always had a lot of questions about it, which I understand, and they were always like, how does that intersect with your disability? And it's like, look, I get paid, $300 almost to lay down for an hour. Like, what do you think? And look pretty. Like, come on. So there was this element of interpersonal glamour and mystique mixed with intimacy that was very appealing. And in a lot of ways, that profession just clicked for me. I did have some other health stuff beyond, like, you know, joint issues and fatigue that came up. So I had to stop. But it's like, I still miss being a part of that world, definitely, and it'll always have a piece of my heart, for sure. And then having that transition financially from like having that income to just like being on social support alone was really tough. And I definitely, like, around the time that we met, even, I was going through a lot of like houselessness, homelessness. I wasn't street involved, luckily, but you know, I had a lot of issues with food, like anaphylaxis and shit. So I couldn't eat whatever a shelter would have been able to feed me. So I relied on couch surfing and like maintaining those kinds of connections. But that, the way our society is structured, made that very difficult to like lean on people in that way and still maintain healthy relationships. Like, a lot of my relationships suffered very badly because of like power imbalances and like needing things from them, which I hate. And now, like, transitioning into now, because I'm turning 27 in a couple of weeks, starting tomorrow. And now I feel like for the first time, I haven't had to like overuse my NISC axis in a really practical way. Like, I'm like, okay, if I imagine this kind of scenario and do these things to kind of like make it happen and negotiate with people in this particular way, almost like in a demented STP kind of way, I'm not, I love STPs. Like, everyone knows I'm a slut for STPs, but like, everyone knows I don't keep it a secret. I don't have to hustle in that capacity, except I wasn't doing like the SP or like actual SP hustle of like, how can I gather this money and these resources and these practical skills. Like, it was very like, oh, how do I socially network my way out of fucking poverty? Like, that was definitely interesting. But now, anyway, I don't have to plan so far ahead out of necessity. And I feel like my NI is just like, for the first time in a while, not operating out of a survival framework. And I'm kind of just like feeling like very brain dead. Like, no thoughts, jellyfish, just fucking straight vibes, man, for a while. Now I'm starting to be able to access idea space and creativity again. But there's definitely a few months of just like healthy burnout, I would say. And I've been collaborating very slowly behind the scenes with some more, not on my channel, like outside of my channel, but just like Enneagram kind of stuff. And I'm just at this crossroads where I have to think about, how do I fucking monetize my personal growth, you know? And I feel like that's something I'll get a handle on again at some point, but I want it to come from a space of creativity and abundance and not desperation, because that really wasn't. Some people thrive in desperation sometimes. I think it sucks. I don't think we should have to make that a necessary condition, because undue suffering is undue. But I'm not a like does well under pressure kind of human. In when it comes to being long-term practical. I think, yeah, like the lack of SI and like SP instinct really just shows itself there heavily. And now, now I'm just kind of trying to push my way through independent, semi-independent herbal study, because I would really like to do something healery, servicey, a little bit esoteric and ancestral. That would, I think, make my life super meaningful and bring meaning to other people's lives. I'm hoping. Does that make sense?
Yes. And I think that, like, I feel like especially from like a creative standpoint and like someone that is like interested in the things that you're interested in, there's like kind of a little bit of a block, because I know that I experience this, so I would assume that like maybe it's similar for you, is there's a point where you kind of are like, you feel a little bit guilty for like trying to monetize it.
Yeah,
In a
yeah.
way.
And I don't think the monetization of like in the hyper monetization and the hustling around interests and skills is like very natural. What is natural to me is trade and like to offer, like to provide offerings to one another, you know, like that makes sense to me. So trying to more operate out of that framework and not be so constricted by like rates and like the exchange of invisible numbers kind of opens up that energetic channel for me to receive and give more stuff, whether it's like literal stuff, or ethereal, abstract kind of offerings for people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, obviously, I mean, we talked about this like personally. A
Yeah.
lot of the stuff that we've like said in this interview, obviously we talked about personally, but I think there's something to be said about like it being transformed in a situation where people are watching this live, even though there's not like a ton of people watching this at this point. It's still really, I feel like there's like a really raw element of it that we kind of, I mean, it's kind of, what I really like about these interviews too is like the fact that it really is like a conversation, especially with us, because or like people that I know like pretty well, or like that I'm like good friends with, like you, it's, I don't know, it's it just feels like a conversation, really. Like that's something I do really like about these interviews, and I think it's a really cool way to like connect with people. Because I know that there's going to be people that watch this and are like, wow, Faye is amazing. Sign me up.
Oh.
Like, I just know. And like, even if it's not um, from this interview in particular, which I feel like you're bound to get people, it's just like, I don't know. I think we sell it ourselves short, like in a lot of ways. And I think it's cool that you really want to get into like that aspect of like getting into your art and getting into the things that you are really fascinated by. So
Thank you. That's really nice. I
um
noticed. Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
Go
Sorry.
ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
I don't know. I was gonna like ask if you related to this at all, but I think for me, I was very necessarily survivalist for a few years that I kind of shut down the creativity valve in my heart chamber, and to the point where I have not even really let myself fully experience listening to music properly. Like I would listen to music to scratch the itch and get earworms out, but I wouldn't let myself have like a fully emotional experience with it because I was focused on churning out emotion and putting it in the world, in relationships, whatever. That it didn't seem natural or right to give that to myself. And I was really thinking about, because someone asked me like why recently, and I didn't have a full answer, but I kind of realized that I'm afraid to offer myself care and even pleasure at this point No. Because it feels like once I can provide that for myself, that means I won't secretly need people anymore, and I'll be like, that's a one-way ticket to loneliness, and I'll be isolated, and without the giving and exchanging of needs and goods and whatnot, then what excuse or reason do I have to interact anymore? And that I have to earn that kind of energy. And giving it to myself isn't earning it, and it feels wrong. And yeah, it'll just isolate me from people, and that is like a really really scary thought. So I'm kind of just trying to challenge that in myself and take baby steps and get used to like even the somatic experience of being musically present or artistically present, you know?
Yeah. Well, because I'm just gonna like come out and say that that's a lie that you're telling yourself,
I
by the
know.
way. Because like as humans we are like we do need each other. Like maybe it's not like I don't think it's good to be like dependent, like completely dependent on someone. But like you do need people. You need people in your life. We are a social species. And like I mean there's definitely people that um have like Henry Thoreau, for example. We know that he isolated himself for like I guess like 2 or 3 years. I forget how long it was. But even him, like, and he's like introvert central. Like, I mean, there are people that do that where they completely isolate themselves. And obviously, like in the 1800s, that was so much easier. But like it's just not it's never going to happen. Like that is a complete lie that you're telling yourself because people will always need you and you will always need people. Like and it's not in like I think it's really the codependence thing, like the whole like being dependent on someone, but like you do need people. Like not in a I think people when they hear the word need, it comes out as like needy. It's just we are a social species. We have to be around people. Like even
Yeah.
introverts, you have to have those connections and it may not be like a ton of people. And I think it's probably a good thing to only have like and I mean, not that you need to do this, but like I would say especially as you get older, there's definitely a smaller group of like really close people in your life. But that doesn't mean that you're never going to need people in your life or whatever. Um
Yeah.
I it's interesting that you do that because I feel like I do a similar thing, but it's a little bit like parallel, like not parallel completely. But like I think that I try to punish myself and like I will tell myself that I'm not worth like doing certain things and like for example, I won't take care of myself, which comes with the whole like having SP last. But like but almost in a punishing way and like that I'm not deserving of certain things. And I think a lot of people go through this cycle, but it's like obviously that's a lie. People are deserving if you're like truly trying to be like your I don't even want to say like the best version of yourself, but like you're showing up every day like as a human being, not trying to like inflict harm on others, like really just trying to like give to the world in whatever capacity. Like you deserve different things and it's not going to always be like an easy thing. I don't think things should be necessarily easy, but you don't need to make them like more challenging than they have to be. And you don't need to like block things off of your life just because like you're in like a fear deficit, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. I think I think where the truth that you pointed out gets distorted is like um I I I feel like I know that we are a social species or an interdependent species. Um and I have trouble holding that truth and the truth that I can give myself things at the same time. Because they feel in my body, like in my emotions, they feel diametrically opposed. But they're not. They are intertwined. And intellectually, I know that. Just kind of getting used to it. At this point, it's getting used to the experience. You know?
Yeah. Also, I don't know, like someone just said Emily's MBTI troll should watch this interview. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. That's not a part of it. But Power Red Bull thinks that this is recorded. So I just want to make like a little disclaimer. This is not a recorded interview. We are live right now, Power Red Bull. This is very much live. Yes, I do like when I do recorded interviews, I am trying to like premiere them so they have like a kind of a live element as well where you can like chat with people while you're watching this. But this is a live interview. I'm only extending live interviews to people that I know. Like Faye and I have known each other for over 2 years, so I feel very comfortable. Like we've talked like hours upon hours, weeks upon, like we've talked a lot. So like I feel a lot more comfortable speaking to Faye than like say a stranger, because back in the day when I first met Faye, actually I used to do interviews where I would just meet them like 2 minutes before I would do the interview and be like, hey, is there anything you don't want to talk about? And then I would get into the interview going live. So
that's what we did. It just work out.
Yeah.
At least. Yeah. It's not that big of a lag. Someone was like, it's a 1 minute lag. It's not a 1 minute lag. At least I hope not.
Oh, YouTube. Well, not the lag, like the actual like not our kind of talking right now. It's there is a lag on YouTube. So like they're seeing things like I don't know if it's a minute, but it's at least like a good 30 seconds behind us.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Wow. I'm like looking at the chat now. I think Red Bull was just fucking with us.
Maybe.
Yeah. I saw a winky face, so I'm gonna assume. Yeah.
Could be.
Questions to add to the mix. Add them in.
Yeah. Definitely send us any questions. ENTP Nurture would like to interview you as well.
Sure. I should write down. I'm gonna put my email in the chat for now. For anyone that wants to get in touch. We do care about the audience. Oh, did he genuinely think it was recorded? Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Well, yeah, and I just said that disclaimer too because I think some people, it is confusing. I think I do confuse people in the sense that like some of them are premiered, so it does seem like it's like a recorded interview, but this is recorded right now, everyone. I mean, not recorded. This is live. This is live, and it was we were kind of afraid because like Faye, like we've tried this in the past on her laptop and it was like the worst lag ever on Faye's end, and it was just like crazy when we were trying to talk to you. It was like 2-minute lag or something.
Actually, that long, like, yeah.
I don't know. It really did feel like that.
No, it actually was though. Like I was paying attention. Yeah. And like the that was even on my phone too. And that was, I don't know if this makes a difference, but that was the time when like that was deep ass winter and we're kind of coming up now. So I don't know how much the weather impacts the satellite internet here, but I'm gonna guess it has something to do with it.
Oh, for sure. Because remember, like, which we kind of just like didn't go back to it, which is fine. Like, we can always do stuff later. But we were doing a recorded thing on Zoom, if you don't remember. Remember? This was like in February or like January or whatever. I forget. And we were like, it wasn't like, it was recorded, like it was at night. And all of a sudden, my power went out because it was a snowstorm. So, which we never get in South Carolina. So
that sucks. Okay. Jonathan said emails don't show and links don't show up in the chat. I don't know if they just don't show up at all or they show up like distorted.
What I can do right now while we're on, so I'm gonna pull up YouTube and I'm just gonna edit the description.
Okay, that works.
Okay, so if you want to send me it like on your laptop, like send me a link in Discord or like whatever, and I can add it to the
yeah.
Okay. On Instagram?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can work on that desktop.
Yeah, so I'm gonna put Faye's email in the description in just a second as we get it pulling up. Okay, like my internet is so slow. Okay, let's see.
Perfect.
Oh yeah, and I definitely do have. Oh, you know what?
What?
I can show it. It's just hidden.
Oh,
so I just showed it. Like, so yeah, people could probably see it.
Yeah.
Now, because I just, for whatever reason, and I guess I have it like this on my YouTube channel just because I don't let people post links anymore.
Yeah. Fair.
Yeah, I have to approve them, but
okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Jonathan said that.
What were you going to say?
Yeah, Jonathan said to ask people to contact me through my YouTube channel. I don't know how to fucking do that. But go ahead and try, and we can see what happens. But yeah, email stuff, whatever. Ooh, we're all friends here. Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any questions for me related to like sociotype relations? I know that's like a favorite.
So I was just going to say, this is kind of a question that I was going to ask, and people definitely can ask follow-up, is for those of the people that don't know and just like kind of rehashing this, how did you get into typology, kind of like your journey and like everything like that?
Yeah. So, oh my God. Well, it all began with the dreaded 16 personality.
Oh my gosh.
Back in like middle school, I shit you not. And I tested as ENFP because I have a personality that's not based on organization. And I didn't know the functions, obviously. It doesn't have that included anywhere. It's just like very subjective, big five-esque dichotomies of what the four letters stand for on a very superficial level. So I was like, oh yeah, checks out. I'm a messy bitch. Cool. That's all I really needed to know. And then I think just like having certain kinds of mental health pictures and traumas and whatnot colored my beginner's understanding of like FE versus FI. So I just took myself as an FI user because I was like, oh, like I'm comfortable talking about myself. I'm self-reflective, like blah, blah, blah. But when I started to understand the objective, and socionics, people can fight me on this. Not that I'm not a socionics person, but the harmonizing nature of FE, the collaborative nature of FE, the mood altering, like dynamic altering nature of FE, things started to click into place. And kind of like how later, like a couple of years later, when I realized I'm a fucking two, a lot of my conflicts in life started to make sense. Because I notice with FI users, I tend to assume selfishness, and I tend to assume rudeness, in the way, and they assume that I'm being fake or conniving, and not that those things can't be true. It's just that clearly isn't often the case. I hope not anyway. So it started to really kind of put those sorts of things into perspective. And I just enjoyed the seeing patterns element as well. So I started to really dive deeper into YouTube, and I found your channel through someone else's channel, and it was kind of like a chain reaction of finding people and just like adding whoever I could onto social media and trying to learn through discussion, because that's how I learn best, is through like a building rapport and kind of like shooting the shit capacity. Like that really works for me. So yeah. And that would have been when I started to get into it seriously. It was basically around the time that I came onto your channel for like the first time. Because I had just been professionally typed as ENFJ, and it was like blowing my freaking mind. Because I didn't think, and I went through this with Enneagram 2 as well. Like I didn't think that I was good enough to be one. And I wasn't as effective at FE as I wanted to be. Like I always want to improve in that capacity, and I'm obsessed with it. It's just like the constant feedback of my satellite radio brain. So it's definitely helped me understand why certain things go right and why certain things go wrong with people,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's interesting. And like, when do you think you really got into like socionics?
Around the same time. Because I noticed that people on Twitter and stuff were into it. Like you were doing videos socionically related, and a couple of other YouTubers that kind of touched on it. But I learned most of my socionics by asking other people questions directly. And I have a lot of it memorized based on conversation rather than kind of like sitting down with it. I've cross-checked it, obviously, with internet sources. I would like to have actual books at some point. It's not a priority though. But yeah, just like relationally learning has taught me a lot, for sure. I've learned a lot from you, like a lot from you. And you were one of the first people that I would like bounce, like, okay, I would get an idea of like what someone's type was or something, and then I would be like, what do you think of this type or whatever? Like that's kind of what our whole like Game of Thrones video is about as well. So like I owe a lot of my so-called career to you.
Oh. Well, and that's the thing. Like I feel like I'm like a hardcore like socionist at heart, but like it is like I'm just like really trying to just like ease people into it, because like get me into a conversation, a one-on-one conversation, get me on Discord, get me like obviously with you, like I will go hard into socionics, but it's just such a MBTI like arena, which I think is great, and I really want people to like kind of go through that journey. But like I'm so looking forward to, so I've talked to you about like wanting to like get my own place, and I've been needing to get my own place for years, even though like I just felt scared. Honestly, like I just felt like because I know when I have my own place, I'm literally by myself. There's nobody else that I can like, again, like kind of put it on. Because like there is like a side of me that I feel like kind of has like that, like a little bit of the drama, not that much, um but like I'm going to have a 2-bedroom apartment by myself, and it is a 2-story apartment, which is going to be amazing. I'm moving in early May, and that's really cool because like if I have guests, they can go in the guest bedroom, and like it's going to be really cool, and I'm going to host things. But like you guys are going to just buckle up because Emily's going to go really hard into YouTube, and that's partly why I'm doing these interviews, is like really kind of just getting back into it, because you're gonna be like, where has Emily been this whole time? Because I don't know. But I do want to get like more into Socionics like on this channel, and I think it would be cool to do, like we were talking about doing a series about Socionics, and I just think that that would be really interesting. I've thought about doing what I think might be great for that, is doing it on the old podcast that I had with Sean and like Michelle. Obviously, Michelle wouldn't be a part of it anymore because she chose to leave it. But like I wouldn't even mind like starting it up again and just like having guests or having people that are like going to be kind of on it. I've talked to Sean about it, or Mech, and like getting into like Socionics.
Who's Sean? Do I know Sean?
So he's Mech, the guy that I interviewed. I don't know if you saw him. Like he did my type of shit podcast with me. He was the guy, the INTJ. Um, you may not have seen the interview that he did recently, but he's like one of the more recent interviews that I did in this last week. But yeah, we used to do the podcast together, and I would love to really kind of focus it more on like long form typology stuff that aren't like necessarily interviews, but like even have guests on to talk about functions, talk about like different things, because I really want this interview series to be really focused on the other person, and like, or like more conversational. And a little thing for everyone, and I know that this is like getting off topic, but I'm going to navigate back to that interview channel at a certain point, probably starting in May. I'm gonna like start doing those interviews on that channel exclusively. I don't know if any of you guys are subscribed to that channel, because there are going to be big things happening on this channel eventually.
We kind of talked about one of those possibilities, right? I think with a certain couple, maybe.
Well, yeah, that would be cool. But I'm saying like, so the interviews, I really want to make them like like always have had the intention of like making that their own thing. And this is like me getting back into the interviews. Eventually they're going to sit on that interview channel. I'm going to like start doing interviews exclusively on that channel, and then reserve this channel for like, we're going to get into some shit, everyone, on this channel. I don't know. Let me try to find it. It's just Pakoki Interviews is the channel. I do not have, oh my God.
I feel like, sorry, this is like kind of random, but I feel like I'm kind of happy that I get to put myself out there as an ENFJ, because we get a lot of shit in the community. Like people feel very strongly about us one way or the other. And people always seem to compare me to INFJs no matter what I fucking do, and I feel like I can't win. And I find myself like wishing that I was an IFE instead, like all the time, because I'm tired of overdoing FE, because that means overdoing interpersonal sensitivity in a particular way and being overly reliant on outcomes, and I fucking hate it. Like,
I really hate comparison in the sense of like comparing, like, I think it's good to compare types, not in the sense of like, ooh, this type's better than this type. But like I think it's good just for like a cognitive comparison, like how it changes, how it like looks. But I absolutely despise that. Like I really hate that whole like, oh, like ENFJs are just like not as good as INFJs, or just like seeing them as like, and it's not always that way. It's funny because I thought I was an ENFJ for the longest time. Oh my gosh, Faye left again, guys. Hopefully she comes back very soon, everyone. You guys are probably not even seeing, this is like a 1 minute lag, so Faye's back, everyone. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I just think it's so funny that you like come back so quickly. So I say a little thing like Faye's gone, everyone. So we're just gonna like wait for a second. But yeah. I just think there. Oh yeah, I thought I was an ENFJ, and like I actually really just didn't like the whole, like for example, Susan Cain Quiet. I actually have that book, but that whole kind of TED talk that she did, like all that stuff. I don't know if you're familiar with that TED talk.
Who?
Susan Cain.
I can't. Susan what?
I believe her last name is Cain. I might be wrong about that. Let me look.
Okay.
It's a book called Quiet. She also did a TED talk. But it's about introverts, and it's about like the power of introverts and like.
I haven't. Bothered watching, but.
Well, so the thing about that is like I was just like, wow, like introverts. I just felt like I just didn't like, I just was like wanting to be an extrovert. I just did not. I just find it so funny when people are like, oh, you're totally not an INFJ. It's like, yeah, like whatever. You can think that I'm not an INFJ, but I will tell you this: I never wanted to be an INFJ. That was not what I wanted to be.
I can see you. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I can see too. Like, I don't think I have necessarily a pedestalized vision of what INFJs are. Like, I know enough INFJs and have known INFJs, so it's not like you're mythologized in my head. It's just a certain like wishful thinking and being tired of having a set of issues that I feel like I'm over it. I'm done dealing with this, you know, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the INFJ specific issues you have are like objectively easier or something. Like, definitely not. I'm just fucking done with myself. Let me make that clear.
Yeah. Well, also just like ENFJs get a bad rep in a lot of ways, even though, like, as you know, ENFJs are like some of my favorite personalities. And I do find, I will say this right now, a little hot take, everyone. I don't think I've ever dated an INFJ. I think I've dated mostly ENFJs. The majority of the guys that I've dated, not majority, but like a good plurality of guys that I've dated are ENFJs. So I just think I am very attracted to ENFJs, both in a friendship sense, but also like romantically.
Yeah.
Because I just like I just really like ENFJs. Obviously, I like INTJs too, but I am not an INTJ, everyone. However, I will say this, tomorrow I'm going to post a little video because of the date that is tomorrow. So just look out for that. And if you guys can, so for those of you that are not, I just don't want to like say it directly, but there is a certain first of the month tomorrow that is happening, and I'm going to present myself as my true personality type, the type that I've been getting so often like recently, and like, you know, actually like that's actually my real personality type, everyone. I'm going to be presenting it tomorrow, so I want everyone to be very like, if you do watch that video, I want you to be like very understanding. Tell me that you knew it all along. You just like just play along with the chat. Because I think it would be funny. But anyways, yeah, so I'm gonna be doing that tomorrow.
Okay. Yes.
Broccoli Todd, what is tomorrow? Just look at the calendar, everyone. Everyone look at the calendar tomorrow. And then I'm going to do a performance tomorrow. But it's a real thing, guys. Very real. Very real, very real. So I want you guys to be very accepting of me. So, hey, Jonathan, there's no reason to say that in the chat.
You know I support you.
Yeah, so I want everyone to be very supportive. If people say that I'm a different type than I say tomorrow, I want people to just really lean into it if possible. I did this like 2 years ago with INFP, which I feel like was really funny because at the time a lot of people thought I was an INFP. So
it's weird how it went from like IFP now in a different direction, which you'll see.
My true type, yeah, my true personality type. Yeah, it is really interesting because like I think it also is the fact that I've made a lot of videos on that personality type, and I do feel like I have like a lot of close people in my life. I'm dating an INTJ. It was 2 years ago. I'm dating an INTJ, so like I guess. I mean, I just know INTJs really well.
Yeah, it's like in your realm of your external to internal realm of consciousness too. And yeah, that's like definitely the most wild personality accusation I've ever gotten is INTP. Like that's really the only thinker type I think. Like I would assume I was an ESTP way before INTP or an ISTP. Like not like at least hit me with the betas. Come on.
Yeah.
Like
I could see people thinking ESFP too. Like if you want to throw that out there. Yeah.
That is not when people no one has ever said it to my face directly, but I've kind of pieced together that people have assumed that maybe at first. That I understand. Like I tend to be a bit showy with my SE. I know what I like. So there's like a certain shallow flexing of FI sometimes that happens with that. But it's not the same. Like my brother is an ESFP, and his TI polar, not that my TI is like excellent by any means, but I want to like strangle him sometimes because it's like making logical arguments just goes in one ear and out the other. And like
That's
Lucy fully admitted to this like pattern in herself as well. So much love to ESFPs. She's honestly probably my favorite ESFP these days.
Really? Yeah, I love Lucy too.
Yeah.
I actually have quite a few ESFPs in my life as well, and I've dated an ESFP before.
That makes sense because you kind of have like, are they not your semi-duals or something?
They're my I say quasi. I just like the word quasi, everyone. I'm a quasi bitch. I just love that word. But yeah, so I like I'm a little intellectual with it instead of semi-dual. I say quasi, everyone.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Just kidding. But I do really like saying quasi versus semi.
Oh, see, that's something I would have said earnestly, so I just took it at face value.
Oh, well. Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Yeah, I feel like I have a similar connection to INTPs. They're my quasi-duals. Like I talk to Ben Verserlin fairly often. We'll exchange like a lot of voice notes. I'm like, I can't keep up with your NE, so as long as he doesn't mind that I can't quite keep up the pace, then we're okay. And he remembers sometimes to FE check in with me. And then I dated an INTP for a while, and I mean, he was an asshole, but not because he was an INTP. He was just an asshole.
I don't know. I know a lot of INTP assholes, just to be. I mean, not saying that all INTPs are assholes, but I do know a lot of INTP assholes, just in general.
Yeah,
just to be real about it, guys. But
honestly, yeah.
which this? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say I think he was like a 162, probably. So try fix wise, there's some overlap. So there's like a certain ease of relation, I guess, but like just he actually did some gaslighty. Okay, he fully fucking gaslit me for like most of the relationship over my perceptions about a particular unfolding of events, which I ended up being right in the end. So that was really, that did a lot of damage to my psyche because he could wield TI over me in a certain way. And like, just because you can argue this doesn't make it true. Because what ended up being true is what I was pointing out anyway. But I couldn't argue it as well as he could. So I noticed that like TI can trigger me in a particular way, and if they perceive my FE as being invasive, sometimes it is, but it's not always. Sometimes I'm just trying to figure out like, what do you want, so I can figure out if I can work with you or not. And what sometimes they'll do if they're feeling like activated is just grasp at any kind of reasoning as to why I'm absolutely off my rocker. I had that happen with my ISTP ex as well. I was telling the INTJ I've been talking to recently about it. He was like, "That's fucking horrible." I was like, "Yeah." So I have a bit of a rocky history in the last like half decade or more with TI DOMs, but I have not allowed that to close my heart to TPs. I still have lots of love to give on that front. But yeah, when it's, you were saying before, I don't know if we were on camera yet, but like you were more referring to it as same quadra relationships, but I think in terms of like even just duality and quasi-duality and activity and would it be supervision? I don't know. It can definitely get really weaponized if you're not prepared to wield those tools like compassionately, yeah, so I think almost like letting go of the grip on my FE a little bit allows me to receive TI a little more balanced because they need each other, as I've said before. Like they're two parts of a whole in and of themselves. So to have someone to put two people together, one who's more oriented towards one side of the same coin and then the other side of the same coin, like you can really make some magic happen, but you have to be aware of the power that comes in that structure. Like, not to get all Spider-Man on everyone, but with great power comes great responsibility. So yeah, I'm definitely interested in developing connections with TPs in the future.
Yeah. What is your favorite quadra?
I'm such a beta whore. Like,
yeah. Apart from beta, what is your favorite quadra?
Yeah. Like my Twitter handle for a while was Lil Miss Beta. Oh, that's tough. I feel like INFPs alone like carry the Delta Quadra for me.
Yeah, I can't relate to that one.
I have a lot of, I have some good INFP buddies, particularly my friend Hannah. Shout out Hannah, ILY. So there are definitely some like communication barriers sometimes, but we're quite emotionally connected. But that's like the type that sticks out to me the most. And then I would say it's easiest for me to get along with alpha because it's like the same deciding axis, but I have a lot of intellectual and energetic chemistry with gammas. Like I spend a lot of time talking to a gamma right now, and like they're an NI Dom, and getting to play around with NI in that capacity is like really deliciously satisfying. So I guess my long ass answer is like it would depend on what for. Because yeah, I definitely feel comfortable with alphas the most. But
Yes.
yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting. I think for I have a theory behind like what your favorite quadras are. Like I think you're naturally gonna like your own quadra the most.
Yeah.
Or
But
like
then
most
like
people I would say.
would yours be gammas because you're NI dominant?
Yes, that's what I was just about to say. So like
Yeah.
I think whatever function you lead with, that's gonna probably be your favorite quadra.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Like
that's also your like your quasi dual is also in that quadra.
yeah.
Um yeah, I would say I really have I mean, for the most part, gamma to me is just like a very solid quadra. Like I like all of those personalities a lot. Not that I don't really like, and then it would be alpha would be next. So, and
Mm,
then delta would be last for me. And for me, it's like for delta, I feel like ENFPs carry delta for me.
right.
INFPs, sorry everyone. I'm not an INFP, even though my performative nature. I know someone said something about like I was very serious in that video. I'm an actress, everyone. I'm not a trained actor, but but I do think I did a pretty good performance, especially because it wasn't planned. I just kind of set off the cuff. What is a quadra? So we're talking about socionics. So in socionics, this is basically like Myers-Briggs on steroids, which I definitely will be getting into like way more in the future because I feel
Yeah.
like there's a lot of like, well, there's definitely like kind of Eastern European content out there on the
Yeah.
subject that's not in English, and there's also like people like Ben and Jack. But to me, I don't think like that's just not the way I would present socionics to people that are just learning it. Um, and I think like anybody can study the theory, but it's like all about like really getting into it. Like I think it's good to be theoretical. You definitely need to have some theoretical stuff. Which
Yeah.
quadra so your opposing quadra I feel like has the most conflict with one another. So like for us, our opposing quadra is delta. So yeah.
Mm,
But
I'm like looking at. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
oh god, you go ahead.
I'm looking at the chat, and I wanted to point out that like oftentimes when I do interviews, like people will sometimes on me and then like talk down to ENFJs by talking about how they maybe we don't do that. Thanks. Someone asked what is quadra. I can explain that if you want. So it's a socionics term, and all it means is like a group of 4 types because there's 16 types in total, so that makes 4 quadras. And within those quadrants or those groups of 4, you share all of the same cognitive functions. So Emily and I are in the same quadra because we both have FE and NI and SE and TI. And then that includes ISTP and ESTP as well, because they kind of have that.
And Myers-Briggs.
Flipped around, yeah. So hopefully that answers that question. Yeah. I guess the other types that the ones I have most conflict with, I wouldn't even say I get into like certain kinds of misunderstandings with deltas because we don't share functions. But I'm not as particularly attached to delta as a whole. So I wouldn't say it has the greatest conflict for me because of the lessened attachment. So like a lot of my conflict feels a lot more charged with gamma because it's like we're seeing reality similarly and we're putting slightly different value on it. And that can be really intense. But like Emily and I were talking about before, was like you can have the most like toxic relationship breakdown within your own quadra too. So while beta is of the whole four my favorite, I'm not even sure if most people's favorite is their own or not. Like maybe, like I know an INFP that's obsessed with ENTPs, for example, and my INFP friend is dating INFJ and is like super content with how that works out. So yeah, I can, as much as I love my own quadra, I can like really fight my own quadra to the death, like particularly the STP, not so much INFJ, like with your mirror relation. So like the introvert to your extrovert, it doesn't tend to be as loaded with opposition, like equal opposition, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you a lot about that as well. So like, okay, I kind of phrased this wrong. So I don't think, and it really just depends on the personality too. The Delta Quadra to me isn't like I don't hate that quadra. Like I think I sometimes say that. I don't. I just find them to be like, if I was to do the game, like I'm gonna not say that. Well, I always say fuck, so it doesn't matter. If I was to do fuck, marry, kill, like for the quadras, I would kill. Yeah. I would kill Delta.
Okay.
Just because, like, if I couldn't include beta in there.
Fuck, man. I'm really at a crossroads with like the type of people I want to partner up with right now, like in deciding what fits best.
But you're also kind of different, even though that is your opposing quadra. Like, I mean, your personality is going to be like presented a bit different. The thing is, like, I wouldn't actually like do that. Like, there are a lot of people in the Delta Quadra that I really like, but I'm saying I also feel like I do have a pretty charged relationship with like Gamma as well. Yeah. And then like Alpha just seems fairly chill. Like I don't really have any issues, or it's not really any issues. There's not really like, I don't know. But it's also not like my favorite quadra as well. And then I mean, I do really like, I know, so I don't try to pretend. I mean, I do think I have like bias or whatever, but it's like personal, like personality bias. But like I have met good people in every single personality, every single quadra, like, so it's just like a generalization, and I don't like necessarily say for everyone to have the same generalization. It's just something that I've really ruminated on. But I would say that within your own quadra, typically, especially the beta quadra, people that are beta bitches, like we are going to have some drama because the beta quadra is a very dramatic quadra. We are the teenagers of the quadras. Alpha is the child, beta is the teenager, gamma is the responsible adult, and delta is the grandparents, or the retirees, yeah. So to speak. So we are gonna be like a bit dramatic with things, and I actually think you can just have, I would say for me, the people that I have the least conflict with in my quadra are going to be ESTPs or SLEs. And Socionics, that's like my least conflict is my dual. And I would actually say
Okay.
I've had some pretty specific drama, not drama, but like issues with like ISTPs and Socionics, LSIs. But EIEs, I would say, actually, I would say your own type is probably going to be like another one that's not as dramatic. I would say EIEs, I've had more drama with them than like any other personality type. Personal drama with them, actually.
With what type?
With ENFJs.
ENFJs?
Because I get along super well with them, like get really close with them, but like because you're mirrors, you're going to have such, and I wouldn't say it's like crazy, but like I have like I have a good amount of ENFJs in my life. I just feel like with that relation, the mirror relation, you're going to, again, it's a mirror image, so you're slightly doing things a little bit different. It's like watching on StreamYard. Like a good way to like kind of metaphorically talk about it is to use StreamYard as an example. Like it's not, it's like it isn't mirrored actually, so that's kind of not a good example, but it's like kind of how I feel right now is like I feel like I'm moving this hand, but it's actually this hand. And like,
Right.
that's kind of how that relation's going to feel is like, you're doing things slightly different than the other person. Like you are just approaching it like you're approaching the same issue in a similar flavor, but a different way. And it just is kind of slightly, when you get closer and closer to that person, it can get kind of like, what are you doing? Like, if you do not have a healthy relationship with that person, you're going to have like a very like, I don't know. I feel like it could be a very dramatic relationship. Like I said, I've never dated an INFJ. I have dated a lot of ENFJs.
So I wanted to add to that. I wanted to challenge that because it's your mirror and your dual, because
my gosh, Faye. We've had multiple segments where Faye disappears, everyone. It's a magic trick that I'm developing, everyone. It's something that I haven't told you guys. I'm actually like a magician and I can make people disappear without touching the screen or anything. And at some point she's going to reappear. All right, abracadabra.
We're doing that. So, that was a very dramatic cutoff point as well. I have more drama with ISTPs and ENFJs generally also. I think that's because we're the more dramatic two of the quadro.
Oh, yes. And that, I mean, I think it's like very personality based too.
Yeah.
Okay, if I think this is, and I'm talking like close relationships. I'm not talking about like just like kind of knowing people off the street or whatever.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
It makes sense too. Like in the most dramatic quadra beta, you guys are the most dramatic types. And like, even though ENFJs are presented as the most dramatic type, I would say, arguably, in my opinion, ISTPs are actually the most dramatic type in that quadra. They are literally, and it's just like, maybe not. It's just a different kind of drama. But like when you get that drama out there, they're just like, those are some psycho bitches, everyone. Like not in a mean way. I like ISTPs a lot. I really like ISTPs, but they are some, I just feel like there are a lot of misconceptions about personality types and a lot of things that like Myers-Briggs really just doesn't cover. Like ESFPs, I feel like are very like overlooked. ENFJs are misunderstood. ISTPs are also misunderstood. It's
What do you think What do you think the least misunderstood type is? Like the type that people have a decent handle on for the most part.
That's like a really tough question, actually.
I know, because I feel like they all are misunderstood, but I'm trying to think about which
Yeah.
one, like, honestly, I would say I want to say INFP because they tend to be highly saturated in these communities, and I feel like they can speak for themselves pretty quickly.
So Broccoli Todd just said ESFJs are probably the least misunderstood.
I
I
disagree.
really would disagree with that because
Yeah,
and ISTJs, I would totally, oh my gosh, I would totally
we're
disagree with that.
not really here to dispute their misconceptions, so we can
Exactly. Because, yeah, so this is the thing. Those, especially
yeah,
ESFJs, ISTJs, they're not necessarily going to be super prevalent in the type community.
yeah,
But just and I'm saying just knowing these personalities in real life versus what's presented online.
yeah.
ISTJs, in my opinion, aren't boring. Actually,
No.
after ENFP, I would say ISTJ is my favorite personality type in the Delta Quadra.
Oh
Hot take,
wow,
everyone.
yeah.
Yeah, really hot take. I like super egos. I don't think it's the best personality relation to have, but there's some interest there.
What was I gonna say to add to that? Like one of my best friends is an ESFJ, and he's had a really hard time integrating into type community because people are all like, like, yeah, there's not really any like SFJs or like SJs around, blah blah blah. ISFJs are represented a little bit better, but that's about it. And nobody actually wants to engage him in any fucking conversation. So it's like, how do you expect to have a better understanding if you're not willing to like meet people in the middle somewhere and like kind of get their insight? Like I feel like I can feel the way he's disrespected, and it pisses me off.
Yeah. Um, and that's what I really I love. I think it's fun to do stereotypical videos, but I really want to really get to the core of some of these personality types and really get into why they're misunderstood, because I just don't. I mean, maybe because I'm just not searching for it, but I really don't see certain personalities represented in a authentic, genuine way. And this is what I mean. You can't base all of your information on MBTI or Socionics. Well, Socionics is going to give you a way more accurate, or holistic approach to a personality because it doesn't play favorites. It's all about giving you let me hit you in the face with reality rather than let me try to raise INFJs up and INTJs and ENTPs. Let me just tell all of these personalities that they're the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely ESFJ men are misunderstood.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely, that's one of my goals is to really just kind of show the holistic thing of personalities. And this is the thing, you have to with personality theory, it can't just be an online approach. You have to actually meet people in real life or
You really
interact with people on a personal level.
You really do, because you have to really get inside someone's mental processing and see it play out in scenarios. And that's not even just SE trumps NI necessarily, but again, you need you need the other side of the NI coin. You need even the NE possibility of what someone can be paired with the SI patterns of what you've seen before and what feels familiar. All of those are valuable pieces of the puzzle when putting these pictures of life together. I was gonna say, I can't. Oh, one beef I do have with Socionics is I think the way it gets translated and interpreted, especially when it comes to MBTI people versus Socionics people. One conflict I see a lot is the MBTI people are oh, FE is harmonizing, and the Socionics people are that's SI. So then when people look at those words at face value and don't kind of dig for the context, they it ends up being oh well, you're an ENFJ in MBTI and an ESFJ in Socionics. No. These are still Jungian functions. They should still describe objective realities. It's just harmonizing what? Because SI is going to be creating a certain comfortable internalized repetition of the sensory. And that is harmony in a particular way, especially because a lot of SI dominants are nines. And 9 is the harmonizing. A lot of NI dominants do with dominant NI and role SI, but you know, there's a correlation with like pretty good SI and being a core 9. And you have like, yeah, that is a type of harmony, sure, but it's not the same as looking at the ethics of a situation and negotiating so that everyone feels sentimentally comfortable. Like, those are way different types of harmony, and we're not having those conversations and clearing up those misconceptions so we can stop mistyping people. Like, no shade, but like there's an INFJ in the MBTI community, and like they type in Socionics as an ENTP, and I get why, especially with the Enneagram piece, but like that shouldn't happen, in my opinion. That drives me fucking bananas.
Yeah, it does. So,
Yeah.
like, I feel like if you type correctly in Socionics, you can translate it over. It's a little bit harder to do MBTI, even though like, in my opinion, it just sounds like really convoluted. I think people do approach MBTI first. So you have to like know, like, okay, you have to like approach it from an MBTI standpoint, but you almost have to like get into MBTI, wipe away all of your knowledge about like type, get into Socionics, really like dive into the functions and stuff. And I think you're actually talking about more of a Model G approach to FE, because Model A is more about harmonizing. So you might be talking to Ben a little too much, because Model G is a bit different than Model A.
I actually do, like, I've had a lot of conversations with Ben, obviously, and like I like a lot of Model V as well. If I could like marry Model A and Model V somehow, that would be like my little utopia of understanding.
Oh yeah, I forgot he has his own model too.
It's really good. Like, one thing that Ben, if you ever see this, you're welcome. One thing that I like about his system is he has this concept of club functions, which is kind of Kiersey temperament, but without being stereotypical. So it's like, it's going to emphasize like an NF's ability to kind of access the like both the intuiting and feeling functions, for example, rather than being like having like a vague concept of like, oh, is this function 6th or 5th? You know what I mean? So there's it's a lot more, to me, a lot more practical, and explains even the certain kinds of relationships I have with like NFPs, you know, like a certain type of thing where like focus on quadra alone doesn't exactly touch. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Taylor just said, tell Ben to unblock me. It's so funny.
Yo, he hates ESTPs. I don't know. I'll try and work some magic, but that might not be personal. I'm not sure what happened, but
with Ben, I mean, I think I've told you this. Like, Ben used to message me all the time. We used to be friends on Facebook, and this is like no shade to Ben. Like, I think Ben, like, I mean, it's just like I feel like it's just like an INTP thing in general. Like, I personally, and it makes sense because like I'm their benefactor, and they're my beneficiary. And so I do find INTPs a bit annoying. Like, I like them, but they are to me very needy people, like very, very needy, and very tactless. And I do not appreciate like when people message me like a ton of stuff, and it really got on my nerves. So I ended up deleting him from Facebook. Just because of that. Not because of like any kind of like actual issues with him.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, because like I have nothing against him. It's just like a kind of an annoyance thing. Which, by the way, hello Lucy.
Yeah, like I think I just know how to communicate discrepancies in needs with FE inferior, maybe more intuitively, or instinctually somehow.
That isn't even it. And this is like a really like maybe kind of benefactor, kind of seeing the beneficiary as like a little bit like a little child. It's just like I just don't even want to deal with it. Like I just like literally it doesn't seem worth it to me. Like I'm just like, see you later, bye bye. Like,
yeah, that's kind of how I deal with ESTPs a lot of the time. Like I don't have that issue with like Lucy really, but like most ESFPs, I would say, I'm just like and the thing with ESFPs, I think because of the FI, it's like, do you even fucking see what I am doing for you? Do you fucking appreciate this? Like that's awful actually, but
yeah.
it's definitely a reaction that I have. I like I think you don't, how do I phrase this? Your beneficiary doesn't fully see you. Like I'm sure Logan feels that way with me a little bit.
Yeah. You see
Yeah.
value in that person and you're gonna generally like them.
Yeah.
But there's also gonna be like it's just never going to be like a symmetrical relationship. It's just like and it can get kind of toxic. Like my mom is my benefactor. I'm her beneficiary. I've talked about this and Lucy just said this, like we talked about, kind of had this conversation in her interview. But I'm in a super ego slash beneficiary loop with my parents and sister. So that's like the way it is in our family. So I'm my sister's super ego. My dad and my mom are super egos.
Is there another term for super ego? I can't remember.
Maybe. I just like I'm not really good with like words, but like I understand, I know the relations, but super ego, what would be your super ego?
Yeah.
Your super ego would be like an ESTJ, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Yeah, so that's just one I've kind of ignored because I don't really come across a lot of ESTJs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought someone was an ESTJ, but I'm pretty sure they are actually an ENTP. Like I shouldn't be conflicted on which one it is, but
No.
Yeah.
Taylor, no. Faye's super ego is not ISTJ. That's her conflictor.
Sure, yeah.
And again, this is like so the ISTJ in Myers-Briggs. So that would actually be like an SLI in Socionics. So that's your conflictor. My super ego is SLI or ISTJ in Myers-Briggs. That's what my sister is. So the way it goes is my mom is my benefactor and I'm her beneficiary. So that's an asymmetrical relationship. And then I'm my dad's benefactor and he's my beneficiary. And then my dad is my sister's benefactor and she is his beneficiary. And then my sister is my mom's benefactor and my mom is her beneficiary. So it's like this little circle jerk. And then we have like the super egos. So it's a really interesting thing. We're all in different quadras. And so like your super ego is going to be someone that you admire a lot. Like you're going to really admire these people in a lot of ways. But at the same time, you're not necessarily going to get close to your super ego very naturally. And also it can be a very challenging relationship. Because you just like completely see the world so differently. But in a same tone. So like sometimes people are going to see you as very similar. And like I know for me, like my sister is my super ego. So like we have very similar voices. We've been told this, like my sister has a very similar voice to me. It's slightly different. And then we're both like she's 2 inches shorter than me, but we're both tall and like on the skinnier side. So like we get compared a lot. But personality wise, we are so different. Like when people really get to know us, like people see my sister as like this logical, like really logical person in real life. Like people are just And she's also like very standoffish towards people. And then me in real life, it's like the opposite, typically. So,
That makes sense. Like,
but yeah.
the one relationship in Socionics, by the way, if anyone's watching this confused, we're talking Socionics and using the MBTI shorthands just for ease of communication to some extent.
Yeah.
Like, when I say ISFJ, I'm talking about like
Myers-Briggs.
Myers-Briggs ISFJ, like SEI, not ESI.
Yeah.
Just so we're clear. And for me, the one kind of like sociotype relation that proves exception to rules is like, I feel like I actually have a very healthy relationship with my supervisor.
Actually, and I actually think that this relation is really misunderstood. I actually think that your supervisor's supervisee, and I've said this before, and I have a theory about this. I actually think that that relation could be one of the healthier relations.
Really?
Like,
Yeah.
I actually think it's better than your benefactor and beneficiary relation.
I agree.
Even though you're like you're psychologically further away from your supervisor or supervisee in some ways. And you're like, there's more of a psychological closeness to like, the thing is with your benefactor and beneficiary, you're probably going to get closer to those people more naturally than like your supervisor supervisee. But like from my experience, so like my grandmother is my supervisee and I'm her supervisor and she's an ESFJ. I really like ESFJs typically. Like I think that, and a hot take, I actually generally like ESFJs better than INTPs. In a general sense, in a personal sense.
Yeah.
But there's a level of like psychological closeness that I won't be getting with like the supervisor. So I don't think it's like the best when it comes to, I mean, you can have a relationship with your supervisor supervisee. Like I know you're in a situation right now, but I actually, like I said, I think it's one of the better ones. Like I don't think it's as bad as like people say.
I didn't see it at first, but the longer we talk, I see the supervisor relationship with this like new INTJ person that I've befriended. And I see more now what some of the website sources describe in terms of like frustration and stuff, because I just want to like be like, take my fucking FE, God. Sometimes it's not very overt. Like it comes out in like small micro interactions mostly. That was redundant, but you get the point. But with me to my supervisor, like Myers-Briggs ISFJ, like I feel like very, very close to them. And I think for me, a lot of psychological closeness has to do with like expression of feeling, which makes sense as a feeling dominant person. So us both being FJs like works out in terms of expressing affection and stuff like that. And what else? Like I as I've aged, like developed a particular deification reverence for SI. I think you really need to have that kind of awe for your polar function in order to have a healthy relationship with your supervisor. And they need to hold space for that awe respectfully, and be humble in order for it to be really healthy. And then like not get an ego trip off of it, basically. And then for me personally also, like I do get feedback sometimes that, I mean, I don't always feel this way, but I do get feedback sometimes that my TI is fairly developed for my type. So it could be like I'm functioning at it a little bit higher, and it kind of matches where their TI is at a little bit. And there's also the thing that I said before about a high correlation with 9, and I love 9. Like 9 is my favorite. So
Aww.
I always have, like, before I ever knew what that was structurally, archetypally, that was like this energy that I kept returning to, like romantically especially. So I think those are some of the intricacies that make it maybe more compatible for me and ISFJs versus like your another random ENFJ off the street or something, or another one from the typology pool. Because I'm thinking of other ENFJs I know around, and I can't see them having that kind of relationship with ISFJ. I also like power dynamics in relationships. So like, yes, daddy, you know, like, not where they have complete power, but where there's like, in some ways, the person holds considerable power over me in one area, but I have it in a different area, and it balances out with those dichotomies of skill. Like that is something that holds my romantic interest a lot. I know not everybody operates romantically that way, but for me, it works out. Also, just I have a new ISFJ friend right now, and we get along really well. We're the same trifix, and it's just like that. They're like my sweet baby angels, and I want to protect them too, even though they're my supervisor. But like, sorry, that was a ramble. More FE, please.
But I mean, like, that's like I said, I do feel like there is something to be said about like the supervisor supervisee relation in general. Like, I don't think it's the worst.
Yeah.
Do
you think conflict is the worst? Obviously.
Conflictor. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure, it's the worst. There's like some very charged like it's just like really I feel like personality theory at the core needs to be about personal development and just like really like trying to understand other people too, because like really any type relation, for not every single type relation but for a lot of type relations, you really have to show up in a certain way or it could go sour. Like
yeah.
Yeah, it's also like this is not an INTP hate channel. I actually really like INTPs. um a lot of my annoying experiences that I've had have been guys that have been like romantically interested in me, and that's just like a whole different genre of like INTP, which in general I get along super well with like female INTPs. There's also like a gender dynamic with that too.
Yeah.
But and like an intention. And obviously this is like not go ahead.
I love chaotic non-binary NTPs. Like that is such a great brand of friendship for me. I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah. So I mean they're mirror type. ENTPs, on the other hand, man, I really love ENTPs, but that's just ENTPs in general, I just like, and which makes sense type relation wise. That's my illusion pair. I get along super well with ENTPs. I do really love ENTPs a lot.
Yeah.
I've also dated ENTPs as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to point something out that got brought up as well. Like we mentioned sensitivity, like not being inherently a problem, and it's like, yes, it is. But I just wanted to like quickly say that like that's part of the like personality bias of being an 8 is like having a certain like a certain wall around vulnerability, because that's what works with your combination of nature and nurture in order to survive challenges. And if you start to break down the idea that vulnerability is automatically a problem, that starts to invalidate certain ways that you've gone through things. So that can be threatening. So I just wanted to say that. And someone also said, you probably wouldn't like having an ESFJ mother. I don't know who that's directed to, but
I think it's towards me.
Okay. Yeah. Like, I don't know. For me, I would my best friend would make a great parent for me personally. Like if that happened differently in life, there's such a good egg and very considerate and thoughtful. I think a lot of people's experience with ESFJ is very domineering, and I get why, but I really don't want that to be the primary perception, because I don't think it's reflective of like all of that ESFJ reality, you know?
Yeah. Also, Broccoli Todd said, what truly is weird is the fact that ESTJs are popular and well liked in society. No, if you mean popular as in they are a meme for the Karen meme, that is ESTJ at its core. I mean, not like just okay. A stereotypical ESTJ is a Karen. I'm going to make a Karen tier list, and they are at the top. They are S tier of Karens. I do not think that ESTJs are very popular in general. I mean, some of them are. So, like, yeah, I think I know what you're saying. There are ESTJs that are popular. And I would say what the thing about ESTJs that I've noticed is they are really into like popular things. Like just like they like trends, they like the popularity stuff. Like they like, and it's just going to be a little bit offbeat. We've talked about this, but I think JoJo Siwa is an ESTJ. I might be wrong by that. JoJo, yeah, I actually feel like she's an ESTJ. She has very much ESTJ energy in my mind. And that's like how I do see. I think ESTJs can sometimes present themselves very similarly like to ENFPs in some ways. But they're just different. I made Faye disappear again, guys. So while Faye's disappeared, I made her disappear from here. I don't think actually ENTPs are universally beloved. I mean, in theory they are. Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
Oh, I was just reading something. What else? There's something that I like meant to respond to, but I can't find it. I mean, I like INTPs, guys. I mean, no, like, even ESTJs, I do know some nice ESTJs. Like, I'm not all hate for ESTJs either. But, like, just in general, personality-wise. What are we saying? I forgot what this was.
Also, sorry, are there any, was I missing any questions in terms of, like, talking about my cognition or development? Because I feel
yeah, guys, please submit any questions that you have for Faye specifically, and like if you can write Faye or like put a question mark, it just would make it easier to look in the chat. Yeah. Also, Lucy said, I find it so weird that I love ENTPs, but I don't really like INTPs. I don't find that weird at all, especially in Socionics. So in Socionics, and I talked about this before, your super ego, like again, like what we were talking about. So for you, Lucy, that's your super ego is ENTP. You are like, I actually think that you really will admire your super ego and get along with them to a certain extent. Like on a very personal level, it may, like if you get really personal with them, there's going to be some conflict. There's just bound to be conflict with those people. But once you get past a certain level, like for me and my sister, for example, there's just like some inherent conflict because we just see the world completely differently and different scenarios. But like once we get past that, she's like one of my favorite people in the whole world, but also she's my sister. But personality wise, it's not going to be, you're typically going to not hate your super ego, or like you're gonna like kind of admire them or think they're cool. But
Yeah.
obviously your conflictor, not so much.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh wow. G has asked me twice to sing something.
Okay.
No, my issue with singing on the spot is like I still have not fully gotten over my stage fright. Like, and I can actually do a decent job at karaoke night now, but that's because like the SE atmosphere is like putting me in the zone a bit more. But like, if I feel like I only have one shot, one opportunity, I'll probably fuck it up. Like I would fuck up every audition in high school where musicality was involved because it would throw me off timing and breath because I was like, so that's still a part of personal development that I have to get to. So maybe I'll sing voice chat at some point because sometimes
it's I know what you mean, and it's really different in person. So like, yeah, so Faye's not gonna sing. Also, yes. Oh my gosh, can you hear my mom yelling? Okay, wait a moment. So you're gonna have to keep it up. What?
I can't even like. This is
Okay, I'll be down in just a second.
But I can't really see it.
Okay, guys, just a quick update. I'm gonna probably be gone for a little bit. So what happened was my cat, love her to death. She's such a good girl, but she is a huntress. Okay, I have to go. She has a mouse or a rat in her mouth right now in the house. That's what's happening.
Okay, I'll go down the fort. Don't worry. So this is interesting and relates to something I went through recently. So I was on the phone with my ex at like 6 a.m, so it's still dark, and I was just, making toast in the kitchen, as one does at that hour. And my cat came, and I felt something like fall on my butt, and I looked down and I was like, oh, like it's her toy. Psych, it was not her fucking toy. It was a dead as a doornail mouse. And I screamed, like, I don't have a high-pitched voice, so I can't like be like, but I still screamed really loud, and I went like, ah! And then I'm a baby, so I ran upstairs and like woke my mom up and started crying. And we get into a lot of fights, but when I'm in distress like that, she doesn't mess around. So she came down and took care of the body situation, and she like wiped my foot with a baby wipe because I was like shaking. Because I don't know, I don't know if this is type related or what. I can definitely say it's like Enneagram instinct related because SP is connected to the body, and I have a hard time being in my body. And I like especially have this intense squick about like bodies that are no longer alive. So I was just like losing my freaking mind. My mom handled it a lot better. Like obviously it wasn't enjoyable, but oh my god, I could like, and I felt like I could feel it happening over and over again. Like the sensory experience kept repeating itself even though the stimulus was removed. So it took me a while to like shake that experience, and I just hope that it doesn't happen again. That would be great. Okay, I saw a couple of cool questions in the chat, so I'm just gonna reference it. So Mamu, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your handle, asked, question, as an ENFJ, are you finding the lockdown isolation? So I was going through a tough time, like health-wise, financially for a while. So I was kind of used to a certain degree of like social isolation already. And right before, like a couple months before the pandemic, I had moved provinces, which is like essentially states, for anyone in the US. And that move, other than like some distant family, I didn't really know people I could socialize with on a regular basis. And the people I did know lived like 3 hours north.
Oh God. Oh shit, I have to literally add you to the stream. My gosh. Okay. Sorry about that. Like, I don't know how long you were off the stream.
No, I wasn't gone that long. I was just saying, something. I was telling the story about the dead mouse, a dead mouse that happened upon my foot thanks to my cat recently, like last month or something. And yeah, I couldn't shake the sensory experience of it. Oh, and then you asked how I was handling isolation, and I was just saying like I was already going through some like other external isolation already, so I was well prepared because I moved into this house literally a week before global lockdown started. So only now recently, because my province has been insulated. Like Ontario is really suffering, but New Brunswick is like kind of A1 right now. So like for the time being, so like I've been able to kind of gather around people and be okay, and like my home community is like all vaccinated and stuff. So yeah, that it was starting to get to me, but things picked up in the nick of time because I actually had a death in my community and it brought everyone together. So it was, that togetherness was really a silver lining. I got to see people I didn't otherwise see. I got to like strengthen those relationships and like have them affirmed. Like it was good stuff. As much as I wish for that person to have had a little more time, even though they were older. It was an elder. Yeah, I definitely have like genuine gratitude for how it brought us all together. Not to be cheesy, but it's true. And then someone else asked, what the supervisor type is for EII. I actually don't know. Do you know that?
Supervisor type. Let me think about it.
For,
That would be like an INFp.
yeah.
ESFP.
Is it? There's. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because they asked a follow-up question like, "What is SEE, and should I feel intimidated by them as EII?"
Oh yeah. That's so they're. So if you guys don't know, in my mind, I do have like a map of all the quadras and like all the personality types, and I don't know how to describe it. It's just like kind of like this abstract map. But yeah, I wasn't doing a math problem. I was literally just seeing the chart in my mind and like how it works. I don't like know how to describe it very well more than, but by the way, everyone, just an update on the little mouse situation. This little girl comes in with a mouse in her mouth.
Oh my god.
It was a very cute mouse too. She already killed it. So it was dead. So I had to get rid of the dead mouse. But she was going to bring it upstairs. So she was prepared to bring it upstairs. Typically, she will leave animals at our doorstep. The last one that she's killed, which was yesterday or the day before, was a bird. It was a very cute bird.
Oh my
Now
god.
that it's spring, Fleur will be killing at least once or twice a day. And if it isn't very clear already, like Fleur is my cat. We have a very special bond. Basically, Fleur spends 20 hours a day with me.
Holy.
Give or take. She typically sleeps with me and she hangs out with me the whole day, and then she uses the bathroom outside, and then she goes hunting. She's a very talented huntress. She can kill birds in the air. She's killed any kind of animal, bunnies, mice, moles. Just a good little girl. She's just a little killer. And she's just so sweet too. Just a sweet little killer. But yeah.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah. It wasn't gross though. The mouse wasn't gross. It was literally intact, but it was dead. I think she broke its neck. That's typically what she does. So.
Wow. Hold on. Let's see. Brave people go live. My inferior SE would not.
It's definitely not for the faint of heart. I feel like, I still ask people because I know not everybody likes going live. Yeah. Actually, like Logan, he prefers not doing live, and I just think he's not really used to doing lives. Certain people prefer like recorded, so I give that option, but yeah.
Like I could thrive off the live energy.
I like lives. I prefer lives too. But with strangers, like I said, I'm doing recorded, which we are way over the 1 hour mark. I knew it was just gonna happen with us. I just had a feeling. But Fleur is not an ENTJ. It's funny. My mom thinks that she doesn't know. My mom doesn't know personality theory at all, nor does she care to know about it. She thinks anytime I start talking, she's just like, like I don't want to listen to it, like kind of thing. She thinks that Fleur and I have the same personality. And I would say Fleur really does. Pumpkin, my old cat that died, he was just textbook ENFJ. Fleur, I would say, is probably, I do think she's an INFJ. Like, I know that, like, that's projecting, but I do believe she is. She's definitely she to me is on the NISE axis. She to me. I feel like she does. And like her FE seems to be pretty strong. She's like a very, very sweet cat. Like everybody loves her.
Loves
Even
INFJ.
other animals love her.
I think my cats are ISFP and ESTP. That's what I've typed them as. I'd be willing to negotiate ISFP, but my other cat is ESTP for sure. Yeah, and I definitely had an ESFP beagle. She was nuts. Bless her. Which is nuts. Emily's mom is an MBTI ISFP. I've been questioning if my mom is. She's like the hardest person for me to type ever. Like both my parents, especially.
Yeah.
My bio dad, I figured out fairly quickly and corrected it slightly. And I haven't bounced around on that because he's a pretty obvious SE dom, like. But my mother, I don't know. Like it's hard to even tell like what functions she's using because I'm just like reacting so emotionally. And like you could really make a case for either because I do rely on like energy a lot to type people and like what kind of like connection I have with them. Ooh, jeez. But yeah, I was saying ISFP, but I'm starting to question like if I've been recently considering ISFJ, which I know not even the same functions. She would just be a very hyper aroused like ISFJ, if so. And I think I took that hyper arousal and our gridlocking for gamma automatically, but that might not be the case now. So the case is reopened. For fuck this. I'll figure it out.
Well, to be fair, it took me a long time to like really feel like solid about like my mom's personality type as well. And I definitely considered ISFJ.
Really?
For like, I would say and it's just like the idea because my mom is kind of a hoarder. If you think of like, and not in a bad way, like, but she does really like value like sentimental things. She also is just like, with my clothes, I think I told you this before, but like I'm like so excited to move out for the sole purpose of getting rid of things. Like I can't wait to just like purge things. Like I'm so excited to purge. Especially like clothes wise because my mom is just like she literally remembers every single item I have clothes wise. And that's very annoying. So when I get rid of stuff, she is like, did you get rid of that shirt? That one shirt? And my mom is very like controlling with me. And it is like our relation in Socionics. But yeah. But yeah. So I do think we should probably also wrap up this pretty soon just because we have like been going on for a while.
Yeah. I wanted to ask if anyone had any like final questions or how you like to wrap up these things.
Exactly.
That we got into some socionic rants. But if there's any like kind of ENFJ specific questions or comments before we wrap up, that'd be cool.
Yeah. And there's always like a little bit of a lag, so we'll let people see what they think. Yeah. I just really love these interviews. I think they're cool.
I love that you're doing them. And someone said earlier in the chat that like INFJs don't give themselves enough credit, and like obviously in your case that's true because you're putting out videos like every day. Like I could not do that. That's so intense. Not that your value is not your productivity, of course, but like I think it's the passion behind
Yeah.
that productivity that I really admire, and the fact that it's driving that productivity is like, wow.
Well, and I can do it with the interviews because to me, like especially now that I've like taken off the idea of like having them live with strangers because that was also like a hard thing like kind of to wrap my head around when now that I'm like recording those interviews, I feel like way more at ease with that. But
Yeah.
like I don't find the interviews difficult. Like it's just like a fun thing to do. I like meeting new people. Also, I like the idea for the recorded interviews. If I just don't really feel like an interview is something that I want to post on my channel, I can just delete it and not post it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's true. I think Lucy asked a question.
Yeah.
What makes you more connected with your TI? Oh, that's a good question. I would say, oh, this is kind of like a heavy answer, but like my bio dad is an ESTP and like has certain let's say has certain perceptions of reality that don't align with most people's perceptions of reality, and I feel like I really had to lean into the TI to like explain why that is and why certain things need to matter from a younger age, and like a certain, I think as well, perception that because I'm like bubbly and like sexually liberated in a certain capacity that I'm stupid. So there's definitely a drive of wanting to prove people wrong in a way, or just not even prove them wrong with some kind of achievement as much as like show the full range of my complexity and humanity that way. So that has looked like developing the thinking function for sure. Another question. Oh, Gervin said good FE, Faye. Thank you. Faye, are you, sorry, I can't, Rare Apple, I think. Are you easily offended when people start questioning your reasons, even though they don't want to bring your reasons down? Yeah. And that's, I feel like I'm not trusted, or like sentiment and emotional intelligence is undervalued a lot, in a lot of different contexts, especially formal ones. And that can feel extremely invalidating and like make participating in those kinds of settings inaccessible. So I think objectively speaking, like that needs to be opened up. But, you know, I am trying to learn to just accept logical inquiry for what it is and not necessarily as an attack. And yeah, I think the less attached I am to my perception, or like to being perceived and judged, the more I can contend with that coin of reality, or that side of the coin of reality, of cognition, really. I think I had something else to say about that, but I can't remember, so I'll just move on. ENFJs are awesome. 4 live stops, but the show goes on. Thanks, Emily. Thanks for the chat, everyone. You're very welcome. Rare Apple says, not criticism, but asking your reasons to your decision-making process. Oh, yeah. Because for me, it takes me a really long time to formulate those things sometimes. So it feels like I'm being asked to deliver on the spot, and it's like I can't give you what you want from me right now. And how well I handle that is often based on like how I perceive that expectation. So if there's some kind of communication, verbal or nonverbal, that indicates take your time, I do a lot better with it. Oh, did my no? Okay. Laptop did not die. Lucy says random, but what did you think main characters of Stranger Things MBTIs are? I don't know. There's definitely a lot of. I feel like the writing of the show is like SE and I with pulling on some like alpha aesthetics, which is interesting. So I'd have to sit with that because like nothing is coming up right away.
I would honestly have to rewatch the series to feel like I could type them.
Yeah, like
because it's been a while since I watched it.
yeah, I think 11 feels ISFP to me instinctively, but I'm not gonna confirm or deny that. Ron asks, how does FI demonstrative and FI opposing appear? Because for me, FI is fifth, and I was under the impression that that was ignoring, depending on which model you're looking at, I guess. So I'll just comment on that. I definitely have a good grasp on FI reasonings for things. I think I just kind of like devalue them sometimes, like not as severely as I can kind of dismiss SI, but it's easy to like FETI your way around things that should really be handled by FI. Easy in the sense it's easy to fall into. It's actually, it makes it think harder for yourself. Like my life gets so much easier when I say, you know what? I don't care for that actually. No. And I don't care what you think of me. I care what I think of me right now. That's so liberating. Oh my God. And yeah, that's why I really value models that handle all 8, because I don't think you can really replace FI with FE and TI. You know, I see a lot of ETPs try to do this, and it can get messy sometimes. Messy in a way that might be undue. Sometimes messy is productive, and sometimes it's not. Yeah, as an INTJ, I had this.
Faye left again, guys. 5th time's the charm, everyone. Also, my dyslexia, oh my gosh, rare apple. I did not read your username until Faye read it. I saw that as like a Russian name at first. Like I just saw it as Russian. Like that's literally my dyslexia. Just read it as a Russian word and was just like I'll see things and I don't actually see them.
Yeah. Sorry. Last time, I saw I'll be more aware of my T and try to use it less with FJs. I don't think you necessarily have to use it less. You can just kind of incorporate the fact that people are having personal reactions to it. And then you can kind of like tap into that an inferior, vulnerable FI. Like, oh, how would that make me feel actually? And then you can kind of use TE in a way that might roll FE like land better. So it's kind of creating more of a holistic ecosystem inside the self rather than trying to like amputate parts of your psyche temporarily or more long term. Yeah. I think that was a good note to end on.
Also, can you hear my cat?
Yes, I can.
Oh my gosh. She's very obnoxious. But anyways, yeah, I know. I was saying with Rare Apple's name, if you didn't say that, like if you didn't read it as Rare Apple, I would have it would have taken me a long time to read it like that because it's I do this with usernames or just like words in general and I think it's a dyslexia thing, but like I literally saw that as like a Russian word. I didn't even like see it as like a word. Like an English word at all.
Oh my God. Yeah, I like was staring at it and was like, what? So I'm glad
Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe I thought it was there's some similar curvatures to it as how things are spelled in Thai, I guess. I'm not super familiar with those characters, but I thought maybe it was that. So that's funny. Lucy says her FJ family often thinks her TE is harsh. That's so funny because I don't experience you as harsh, Lucy. Like, I do kind of have that sense of like being taken aback for a moment with FITE axis, but like you're an ESFP, like 9-6, you're fine. So that's probably your family not wanting to address certain covert aspects of their perception of their mental space. So I probably wouldn't take that too personally without knowing more details.
Okay, I'm letting my cat out of the room. She's like literally meowing. So. You are obnoxious!
Oh yeah.
What?
Oh, I was just like checking the chat. G said my fam is ESFJ, ISFP, and ISTJ. They all think my TI is harsh. Yeah, it kind of goes both ways in a way. Like thinking can just be harsh in general in comparison to like feeling receptivity, and opposite axes and stuff. But yeah, I think that's probably it. So is there anything else you wanted to say, Emily?
No, I think that's about it. So thank you again for coming on, Faye.
Yeah.
And you guys should subscribe to Faye's channel. I know that like it's just inevitable. Faye's going to be back. We're probably going to do like definitely more videos in the future. She's been on videos before. And yeah. Also email her if you wanted to do an interview. I know like some other people earlier were wanting to do interviews. I have her email linked in the video. So, yep.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, I will definitely be back. And I wanted to catch you after this interview. So,
yes, I'm just going to end the broadcast, but
okay,
bye, everybody.
Bye.